Before open up to the floor, we would like to ask each panelist have a question or not. So if you have any question to the presentation.
Yeah, I have two questions to Professor Sa or Dr. Sa, probably. What about the attacks in last March? I'm interested in it. So why the Korean military or Korean government were not targeted? So broadcasters were attacked, and ATM banking system were attacked. And the second question is that, so Kisa told us that it was from North Korea, but always attribution is a problem in cyber attack. So what kind of evidence did you get to say this is from North Korea?
Anyway, so it's very hard for me about your question. That's why so anyway, we divide two. One is government side, one is private side. You see the MBC is a Muna broadcasting system. It's private. So it's different. So we supporting their systems, but like official system is different. So NIS, National Intelligence Services, they protected the official portion, but we supporting the private area. But right now, there's some whole of the division, no, whole of some attack point is press organization like NBC, KBS, like that. So a lot of the numerous pressmen, a lot of reporters, a lot of PDs. But as you like a professor, it's very hard to handle. Some people we ordered, so you make a watching. We must protect your PC, but they did not. That's the point of the mindset. So important is the ethic. Importance of each personal attitude for the cyber threat, like privacy and the cyber attack, or horrible some problem. So that's the point. Okay. So like a press, like KBS, NBC, and the New York and the bank, sometimes some big mistake. So they know it's very hard to control them. But right now we are changed. It's a lesson from the cyber attack. We are changed. I cannot find out the economic effect of this cyber attack. Maybe some professor, some researcher will find out that the effect of the cyber attack. But anyway, important thing is a lesson. And evidence will find out same IP address of the last attack. Every time we have a lot of attack, important thing is North Korea. Our government talking to the one is from the North Korea. Anyway, important thing is attack. Important is our situation, our attitude, our preparation for the cyber attack. So that's important. Who did it is not important. Important is each of the my protect. Like you know that if you getting weak, we have a lot of germs, a lot of disease attack you. So important is your healthy is important. I think not the food.
Just clarification. So North Korea might have attacked the military or government sectors, but you have a better protection. That's why there's no victim in that sector. But private sector was weaker, so that's why they got attacked.
So we have a lot of functions with relationship with military, prosecutor, police, like intelligence agency. We have a lot of get together. have a lot of budget from the government side, and each department give for yes.
Do you have any questions, Kondo-san or Dr.san? Yeah. いいですか？いいです。いいです。Kondo-san.
Well, I just want to make a brief comment on Dr. Sir's conclusion regarding the ethics is really important. What I'd like to say is actually information awareness raising, information security awareness raising is very important because always the weakest link is attacked. Weakest link is attacked. So what I'd like to say is actually Japan started a cyber security awareness campaign since last October, and we are now seeking the partners to do it together. So it would be great if Japan and Korea can do this kind of cyber security awareness campaign together.
So not Japan, and including whole Asia Pacific area, and with so each world get together is very important. So we call it is like a governance. Yeah, it's a very important.
I have one question to each panelist. I think in terms of cyber security, some people think about at the nation level, country level. Some people think about the private sector level. Some people think about individual, citizen level. So there are 3 levels. And are we well prepared for the future unknown attacks? So Professor Sa, Dr. Sa mentioned that the ethics is more important. So in terms of education or preparing more well-educated cybersecurity specialists or any aspect, could you give us a little bit brief answer towards the country level, private sector level, or individual citizens level? Are we well prepared or not? じゃあ、どっちでしょう？近藤さんから。Then we will open to the floor. So could you please?
Okay, as for cybersecurity things, maybe as far as the governance thing, I should express my opinion from the situation of the needs. I mean, as for the government needs to protect their system very strictly, but I think it's impossible to protect from all the risks. So we need to be prepared for many cyber threats. So for the one thing, NIST provides information security guidelines to government agencies, and actually each government agencies need to comply with that security policy. And actually each ministry develops their own security policy based on NIST security policy guidelines. So that is one measure. And the other thing we do is most of the cyber threats or cyber attacks caused by kind of human errors. So NIST did spear phishing email drills last year, and actually NIST sent out more than 140,000 officials fake email, and then I don't know, this is internet, so I shouldn't mention the number, but some percent of the government officials actually opened it. But that was good because the people who opened that email was actually led to the educational side, so they could learn about that. And as for the private sectors, of course, for the critical infrastructures, they are really important first. So actually, government provide the safe kind of security guidelines, and they need to comply with that kind of guideline. And also, we promote a public-private partnership to share the information regarding cyber incidents. And also for the other private sectors, I think it's also pretty much important to share the information regarding cyber incidents. Then we can, prepare for the coming cyber attacks or something like that. And as for individuals, as I mentioned, I think awareness raising is really important because people don't know what the cyber threat is, So I think awareness raising is really important. So that's why we do that kind of influence awareness raising month in February or in October, things like that.
In Japan, we don't have like a 118, the Dr. Sam mentioned. Do you think that's a good idea?
Yes.
Sorry, okay, then we move to the Dr. Sam.
Well, yeah. So your question is very important for us. The government part, I think so. 2 point is the United States, 2.2 of the R&D budget, but in Korea only 0.34% of the R&D budget.
To the security.
Yeah, so it's very low level. And and the industrial part and the budget of the security percentage is 10.5 of the industrial area, but in Korea it's different, 21.6% of the securities for the cybersecurity or the change, growing of ratio. No, this is my point, the growing of ratio. So nowadays Koreans industry invest a lot of growing of the industry. This one. So I think the government part will very steady, but fundamentally they supporting our budget. But individual or no, industrial ratio is different. Industrial ratio is very high, but each personal level is very low. So I recommend that you must using a cloud system. In the NHN, it's a neighbor town. It's a very cloud is very common in Korea. We access cloud system, not their own system. Each person using a cloud system is very same theme of this conference. I think so. That's it.
As a scholar of international relations, we distinguish threats from risks. So risk and threats are different idea. So threats always needs an enemy. So Soviet Union was an enemy. So Soviet Union's threat was somehow visible. It was much easier to handle with them. But risks are somehow difficult. So these risks, for example, earthquake is a risk, and traffic accident is a risk. It's quite difficult to stop it. So we have to prepare for them, but we cannot completely stop them. So cyber attack is kind of risk. So attribution is always a problem. So we know usual suspects. So these countries might be doing something anonymous, we might be doing something, but we cannot define who is real enemy for us. So that's why we cannot stop the first attack, but we have to stop the second attack from the same source. That should be cyber defense in the future. So I'm always saying that we have to move on to kinetic cyber defense. It's more active, more sensitive cyber defense. It could be difficult, but we can use the ISR, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance capabilities to stop them. So it's quite difficult to cope with the future unknown attacks, but maybe we can do something.
Okay, now we can, I think you are saying the Soviet was in the Cold War era, right? So, but anyway, I just feel, but anyway, okay, please, could you please give us name and affiliation?
Famous.
Yes, Professor Park from Korea University. I'd like to make a comment on the Professor Chichia's presentation and a question to Dr. Kondo based on Professor Chichia's conclusion. First, it was very interesting to see that the Professor Chichia presented the two distinctive ideas between himself and Professor Murai, counterterrorism and national nationalism or nationalism.
Nationalism.
Yes. Although we often say that the cyberspace is a newly developed or found and fixed domain following the land, sea, airspace, and outer space. But although I have to think more carefully, but I think cyberspace is not so independent of those four existing domains. In that sense, I think cyberspace goes and has to go well with land, sea, and airspace and outer spaces. And also, cyberspace connects those areas which are not covered by under any the sovereignty of any state, like the high seas. In that sense, I agree on the Professor Borai's communitarianism, but I also agree on the Professor Chia's nationalism because state and there should be the sovereignty over the cyberspace, at least in the sense that the states are responsible for what happens in their own domains, in their own under their own jurisdictions. But the Professor Chichia gives us a question in his conclusion that which organization is NSA or GCHQ in Japan? I think probably Professor Dr. Kondo may answer this question. Which one is the NSA or GCHQ in Japan? And there is also another question to Dr. Kondo. You mentioned that the Japanese government issued the new cybersecurity strategy. I found that there are national cybersecurity strategies adopted by more than 10, at least 10 countries, mainly in Europe. But it's interesting to see that those national strategies do not have the definition of cybersecurity itself. So I'd like to know whether Japanese new strategy has a definition on cybersecurity, and also I'd like to know how security in cybersecurity. Security is translated into Chinese characters because in Korea there is much about, was discussion about whether in Korea 안보, 보안, or 안전. So I'd like to hear from Dr. Kondo. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your really excellent and also the difficult question. I think actually in Japan there is not a clear definition for cybersecurity. No. I mean, in Japan we've been using the word information security. I mean, in Japanese, jobo security with that word. Because we started like protecting our information systems and networking systems, so we much more focused on systems. So that's why we use the word information security. But however, at the same time, I had the opportunities to participate in international conferences, and then when they mention to the word information security, it means kind of controlling the content of internet information. So I think it's really difficult. In Japanese, information security does not mean kind of controlling contents, but we've been using the word for kind of protecting the information system. And as for cyber security things, we don't have an exact Japanese thing for cyber security. So when we talk about cyber security, in Japanese, it is also cyber security. And this time, we changed the name of the strategy from information security strategy to cyber security for the first time. And by doing so, we tried to mention to more broader issues, not only national security things, not only for supporting the economic growth things, not only for individual security measures. So we try to mention to all the things regarding kind of risks or threats things in cyberspace. So I don't think I clearly answered to your question, but now in Japan we're trying to use cybersecurity in more broad context. Is it okay?
Professor Teacher's question.
I will take your first question. So,
To the top.
yeah, there's no NSA, no GCHQ in Japan yet, and maybe not in the future too. But the possible organization is defense headquarters under the Ministry of Defense. They have some capabilities, and they are watching communications overseas. So they are focusing on wireless communications. So they are not allowed to monitor communication inside Japan. So domestic wiretap, domestic interception is not allowed here. So they are not doing such thing. So if we can change the law, so they might be able to do that. I'm not sure. So many Japanese people don't like breaking of the secrecy of communication. So it is protected under the Article 21 of our Constitution. So people and organizations have capabilities, but we are not allowed to do that. But I think we have one. So I want to have one.
Yeah.
So the Japanese government has not decided anything yet, but I'm proposing it. I'm not sure.
Yes, yeah, please.
My name is Edmond from University of Indonesia. Thank you for excellent presentation from Professor Montoro regarding about the cyberspace. But I just think a lot. Is there new really space in this world? God never made a new space. Instead, waters, air, and aerospace. So what we means about the cyberspace then is about connectivity of the electronic systems. It's really cool. So there is no guarantee that code is like innocent passage, like the waters. Code represented by ASCII and signal. So what we really mean with the cybersecurity is not cybersecurity, it's our national security, basically. Because if we talk about the cybersecurity, we protect cyberspace for global common interest. So if I refer to the ITU definition about the cybersecurity, merely talking about the national security indeed. I would like to explore this tomorrow regarding how is the principle of justice to be applied in this context. If there is a risk after something happens, is that fair? Users should bear the risk. Who creating the risk should bear the risk and responsibilities. The first stage of the internet, of course, talking about the connectivity. But in the future of the internet, I believe we're talking about responsibilities and liabilities. Because we basically talking about not only standard and quality of services, but to what extent the owner of the code will take this responsibility. I just curious about that. To what extent we can prove the malicious code. It means, since the beginning, we should know the code, the appropriate code in the memory. So, can we know the code if the code itself is not transparent? There is, in programming, there is always potential bug. But there is no guarantee for the bug. It happens in my country in 2004 in the public elections. There is a software used by commissioners. And then this software have a vulnerability. And there is some history before that this kind of activities had already known by the vendors. And I don't know what is the political situation. These holes explored by someone just want to prove this is there is a hole. And look at what happened in my country. This person just want to prove that there is a hole, security hole, going to jail. But the liabilities still have a big question mark for us. So we cannot say there is what you call 100% freedom in cyberspace because it's not fair for the users. Users do not know anything about the code, the clearly code. On the other hand, this is the consumers. Big data, cloud computing is talking about basically our consumer interest, which means we present national interest. And we're going to protect national market and also national security. So I like your presentation very much. Yeah, we should criticize in the futures that this is not dedicated connection. Cyberspace is not dedicated connection like circuit switching in telecommunication conventional approach. This is connection oriented. So who bear the risk? That is not simple answer. Just I would like that maybe in the legal perspective tomorrow I would like to explore that what your criticized ideas. Thank you very much.
Okay, then please.
I have a very specific issue to mention here. When you mention about the incident or what U.S. government did after the September 11, the Keio system, basically there is a legal background, there is a legal back after that. They passed Patriot Act allowing interceptions of communication. And U.S. is not alone. Not long after that, the European directive on retention of communication data was passed. And that is more damaging because as compared to the US, you have to have suspicious ground before you can intercept, and then you have to have a warrant. But in Europe, under the directive, ISPs, telecommunication operators are mandated. They have to keep the data for a certain period of time. It doesn't matter whether you suspect any, terrorist is trying to communicate, whatever. So what I'm trying to say is that US is not alone. Europe followed suit after that. My question is this. Of late, in fact, the way of defense, US has came up with the idea of preemptive strike. Before people strike on you, you strike first. So this is a preemptive strike, and recently Pentagon has issued a kind of guideline how to use the preemptive strike strategy. I just want to know what is the position or what is the attitude of the Korean and Japanese government on this issue, because I see Europe is moving towards that as well, allowing preemptive strike.
I never said we should use great strike. I'm just saying that monitoring. So
Yeah. I'm questioning whether what is the attitude of the Japanese and Korean government on this.
I'm not the representative of Japanese government. Anyway, so thank you for the question and the comments. So it's go back to Professor Park's comment and your comment. So actually, cyberspace is not a natural domain, national space. So it's an artificial space. So U.S. government, DoD document is saying that cyberspace is somehow different from natural domains. And as you said, so cyberspace is covering everything and connecting other four domains. That's why cybersecurity is becoming critical for U.S. military forces and other countries' military forces. So, so fusion of the real world and fusion of cyber world, online world is becoming our concern now. So that's why the Japanese government used the cyber security instead of information security. Information security was focusing on more system technology or devices, but we have to think about the impact to the society. So it should be so government trying to enlarge the responsibility. But your comment, so it's not about connectivity, so future will be responsibility and liability. But it means that who should be responsible to whom? That's a big question, right? So government must be responsible for the citizens. So that's why government can do something to protect citizens. So what does it mean? So why helping people's communication or that? So the discussion continues out here.
Could you briefly answer his last question? That again, the position for the preemptive attack. Yeah, strike or yeah.
So you said regarding the defense way for the preemptive attack. Actually, I'm not in charge of answering that question, but maybe this is not really responsible for the Ministry of Defense things, but I generally, in Japan, yeah, defense, they are not allowed to, preemptive attack is not allowed under the law.
Dr. San, very brief. Yes, please.
Important is welfare. Important is harmful from the cyberspace. So usually, even if the citizen is very important. So I think so welfare is very important. Using a cyberspace. That's a philosophy of the cyberspace.
Okay. Sorry, we ran out of time. We would like to close the panel by getting a few words from each panelist. It's possible, or would you like to say a few words? The final closing comment. It's okay, or you skip, or it's okay? Okay. I think, tomorrow, okay, I see, okay. I think, yeah, I think Japan and Korea has a very good relationship for many years, and we represent the leading country for the these internet economy and internet activities, and including these cyber security issues. We have most advanced issue in some sense in the world. So if two countries come up with a better solution or better practice, I hope we can contribute to the other countries. Okay, thank you very much.